So I just watched Born Again Season 2, and I gotta say, that shit was peak. Oh my god. Now, I want to make the intro for this quick because as you're gonna see this video, I'm gonna try and release it when Born Again ends. So when you do randomly see this video, it will hopefully release after the season ends. So anyways, let's talk about episodes 1 through 4 and maybe 8, depending on how this video is going to be scripted. Oh yeah, before you even go through this video, it's a spoiler warning. I really suggest you watch Daredevil Season 1 through 3 and Born Again because they're both canon. Anyways, let's get right into it. One thing that's always consistent with the Daredevil brand is the dark and edgy tone. I love how the beginning of the show just feels like the original Netflix show, but somehow it's even better because of the colors making the scenes literally have the sauce. I was so hyped when he was hiding in the shadows, and weirdly enough, this feels a lot like the first episode where he was essentially stalking his prey, knowing full well that it takes one swing of his billy clubs and they get permanent brain damage. And Daredevil in this scene is trying to get some dirt on Fisk, and a lot of the season is focused on exposing Fisk for his crimes because again, he is the mayor of New York. And of course, Daredevil always has to have the most action-packed fight scenes, and you know me, I love me a good fight scene, but it kind of still suffers the same problem that every Daredevil fight scene has, and that's some of the sound effects when the fighting starts need to be tweaked a bit to really feel the scene of a punch. This doesn't really ruin it for me, it just it's a recurring issue. But anyways, after he got a little bit of information that would damage his reputation severely, he then put a watch in one of the boxes. The ship blows up, leaving all of the evidence in the lake, and you already know they had to do a suit check in this scene. My god, he's drippy. And the next few episodes are fighting those guns to expose Fisk on what he really wants to do, which is... wait, what was it again? Oh, that makes sense. Aww. I will say that the plot feels real because in this point of the story, Matt has to lay low because Kingpin knows Matt's secret identity. Anytime he leaves his hideout, he has to wear a coat to cover his face, and most people would not care because it's just some random guy in a coat. And he does these meetings with his friends to try and get more information on Fisk. And I also forgot to mention that this is trying to get information to strengthen the vigilante trials to have a better chance at winning. And respect to all women, but Heather's the worst part of the fucking show. Back then, I didn't really care for her that much, but when she got saved by Daredevil and still joined and has the audacity, the balls, the gall to say that she saved herself and still joined Fisk, you're a fucking bitch for that. I hope you know that. Now, I know that the good writers had to work with what they got because the old ones fucked up the perception of the show, but god damn, you could have made her a little less bitchy. Anyways, I love every bit of episodes 1 and 2. They are peak, and I love the power play that Fisk does, which is not revealing Matt's secret identity because he knows exactly what's gonna happen if he does. But rather, he told the entire world that Matt is in trouble and he is missing and is kidnapped by the vigilantes. Best part of the season so far. But what about episode 3? Oh my god, it was so peak. I think that I'm gonna cry. It was 100% Matt Murdock's best performance, yet he was putting belt to ass to the entire task force with ease. And if these guys didn't wear body armor, he would have given the easiest beatdown in the entire show. And I like the beginning of the fight scene, which is basically a choice. He either saves the people immediately and risks the evidence to expose Fisk, or he gets the evidence immediately and risks the lives of the people who Fisk has captive. Some people don't really like this fight scene because it has no substance, quote unquote, but I feel like the fact that he had a choice to either expose Fisk immediately or save the people is really an impactful way of doing the fight scene. And I'ma be honest, Swordsman was getting it down, mind you, with no body armor and no sword. and was straight up doing the same level of belt to ass like Daredevil, and the fight scene was so intense. And as of me writing this episode, I have not watched episode 4 yet. So let me just take a little break and just watch it. Oh no. Oh no. I mean, I'm glad to see the Aura King, the Foggy Slayer, but holy crap. What an ending. It was great, and one thing that has remained consistent with all of these episodes are the epic action scenes. Episode 1, we have Daredevil parrying bullets. Episode 2, he smiles and enjoys the ass beating. Episode 3, him and Swordsman fought an entire army of task force members. Episode 4, we have an amazing fight scene where Bullseye killed a man with a lobster. And one thing that occurred to me that I wanted to know is that, is Bullseye good now? And the answer is yes and no. The question is a little more complicated than that. Now, let's not get it twisted. Bullseye still kills people. In this very episode, he killed 2 innocent people for no particular reason at all. In this episode, Bullseye wants to accomplish his twisted version of his redemption arc. Now, I say redemption arc in quotations because he is still going to kill people, but his common goal is to see Fisk and Vanessa burn, because these two are very significant figures that have manipulated him. So to make things right and to balance out the scales or whatever, he kills Vanessa. Now at this time of me making this video, it's still unclear if she is dead or not, but if she is, then Matt is in a lot of trouble, because there is nothing to stop Fisk from revealing to the world that Matt Murdock is Daredevil. Now, I'm just gonna sit here and wait for episode 5 because it's not out yet. So see you next week, I guess. Oh my god, this just might be the saddest episode in the entire season. Instead of it building up to a fight scene that I thought they were gonna do, instead they take the time to explore Matt's internal conflict with Bullseye because he killed Foggy. And what I like about this episode is how the contrast with Matt's feelings are reflected through the flashbacks. Because if you think about it, Matt is in a state where back then he was okay with a criminal dying in prison, and while these flashbacks are playing, it kind of shows Matt's perspective, because he is still conflicted if he should let Bullseye die or not. But because of Matt's guilt of trying to kill him, but nonetheless, he still has a part of him that wants to let him die. And we see this in the final part of the episode where he decides to leave Bullseye for dead. And that represents that part of him that wants Bullseye to die for what he did to Foggy. Now, obviously, you could just say that he couldn't lift him anymore, but let's be honest, would he do the same for an innocent person? And you would say, no, of course not. And that's my point. Matt wanted him to die. And I like this other flashback basically representing Matt's moral side, which is Foggy, because he would not want Matt to leave someone for dead, especially if they could be saved. So he decides to go back and save him. Not because he wants to, but because he needs to save him. Because that's who Matt is. And I like the fact that both Fisk and Daredevil have the same interconnected flashback. His version shows how Vanessa and Fisk met. Now, I don't have much to say about this part because I feel like it's not as deep as Matt's flashbacks. But what I do like is the final interaction with Fisk and Vanessa. It is so sad. And what makes this worse is that it's his own fault for getting her killed, because of the fact that the doctors wanted to check on her vitals to see how she is. But nah, Fisk is more worried about her getting her juice rather than actually keeping her alive. I love this scene. As much as it is tragic, I do like it because of how obsessively in love he is with her. And that, tragically enough, makes her die. Now, currently, after making this audio and all whatever, the final episode did come out, and I'm currently on episode 6. So I'm gonna make it a 2-in-1. I'm gonna talk about both episode 6 and 7. Don't you dare say it. In this episode, it brings back Jessica Jones, who is now married to Luke Cage? Yeah, I know. Surprise to me too. Now, I don't actually know that much about the Defenders or the Luke Cage show or any of the spin-offs really. I might watch them soon. Anyways, we go back to Karen and Matt talking about the unfortunate situation of Bullseye resting up in the safe house. They also have a whole conflict with should they or should they not kill Bullseye. Not only does Karen want Fisk dead, but also Bullseye dead. Because no matter what, it never ends because someone always goes back to what they're doing. Fisk always goes back to what he does because that's who he is, and there's no changing that. Now, some people might find this generic, but I don't care because it's really good and I loved it because it still adds to the challenge of what will Matt do. We know that Matt doesn't kill, but will he though? Because no matter what, Kingpin is probably in his most dangerous state yet because there's nothing stopping him to kill Karen after he's done his grand plan, which I will get to, alright? I did like the fight scene in this episode with Jessica and Daredevil. Of course, it does have the problem called sound effects syndrome because the sound effects need to be better to really feel the force of the punches. And don't get me wrong, we do get this scary scene with Bullseye and Karen having a face-to-face. And Karen was even ready to kill him, and in a shocking scene, Matt hit her hand by throwing the billy club. I did not expect that. So she starts going off on him that he chooses to save the people who ended up killing the people who love him. Now, this is some deep stuff because it further strengthens the choice that should Matt kill his enemy. At this point of the story, he has already regained his faith, regained his humanity, and instead of it being like season 3 where he lost everything and he wants to kill Fisk because of what he did, in this moment of the story, he has completely redeemed himself and he wants to do the right thing. And it really amps up the tension of this scene, and it really shows Karen's perspective that Matt should kill, but he chooses not to. And I like that in this point of the story, Matt realizes that this is just an endless game on who kills who first. So after this, Karen leaves. After Kingpin lost his wife, now I know I'm sidetracking a bit, but I really want to talk about this because it really pissed me off. So the doctor that tried to save his wife came to Fisk and tries to comfort him. And what does he do when hearing all these kind words from his doctor? He fucking kills him. What? Bro, why would you do that? It's your own fault that she died. Like, what the hell, man? And this is a trend, by the way, where he hears some bad news and brutally beats the shit out of some people for no reason. Anyways, Daredevil and Fisk fight. I like it because of the conversation they had about their never-ending battle of Fisk versus Matt. Matt wants Fisk to stop so one of them don't end up killing each other. Very logical explanation, but he didn't like that. So they start boxing. And to be honest, I didn't really like the fight scene that much. It's good. It's probably one of the weaker fights in the season, but it's still really good because of the conversation they had with each other of this never-ending game on who is gonna kill who. Now, episode 7 overall is an amazing episode. It might be the best episode, to be honest, because of the story arcs go through interesting pathways. And we see Matt being a lawyer. This was amazing. I liked it. Anytime Matt is on a case, he always makes it an entertaining show. So in the trial, it's basically another vigilante trial because Fisk wants to embarrass Karen and probably kill her after the trial ends. But there are some things that Matt has planned. One, the governor of New York has plans of making Ping... Did I say Ping? Never mind. Kingpin resign as mayor of New York. So he sends Heather, who is now Muse, to kill her. And she almost pulled it off. But you already know the GOAT is here and made a quick work of her. And I also like this scene where Heather and Karen are in the same room and Karen is just rage baiting her. And it works. So instead of doing their psychological testing, they instead do it for another time because she did not mess with Karen's rage bait. And it ends with Matt praying to God to help help him win, and that was the ending. Now, I didn't go through the Daniel and BB subplot because the video would be way too long, but think of it as a reason to watch it fresh. The final episode will come out, and I even heard news of season 3. Now, I think I should wait for the final any minute now. Any minute now. Okay, what's going on? Do I really need to wait a week? I'm tired of this. I'm taking a peek right now. Oh my god. I think I witnessed peak. I think I witnessed peak. This gotta be the best episode by far. Not only does it have a badass fight scene in there, but it also puts Matt in a position that he's never done before. So, to summarize the trial, Fisk comes to the court as a witness. I love the scene where they have a mental battle. Any chance Matt gets, he shuts him down with facts on facts on facts. This part might be as good as the Frank Castle case. That's how entertaining the case is. And the funniest part is the prosecutor just keeps spamming objection! How is this relevant to the case? I swear to God, that was 50% of his answers, by the way. And we both know Matt is probably the best in his field when it comes to being a lawyer. But imagine my shock that he wasn't nervous for a second, and there's a reason for that. Because Matt does a power move, basically saying that there was one witness during the sinking of the Northern Star, a witness that is in this very courtroom. As soon as I heard that, I couldn't believe it, but I guess he's full of surprises because he reveals his identity, tells the whole world that he is Daredevil just to act as the witness in the sinking. Oh my god, this is unbelievable. And of course, the guy who says objection every 50 seconds says objection! Are we really going to believe that a blind man is dead? Okay, I'll shut the fuck up now. And by doing this, he ends up winning the court case, but the scene gets interrupted by Bullseye trying to kill Fisk, and Fisk and his men flee to the courtroom, and in a last-ditch effort, he records a speech. And he is getting desperate. What he's trying to do is defuse the situation, but that plan failed miserably. And because of all this, chaos reigns in New York. You would think that Fisk would just leave New York like his assistant said, but nope, he comes to the door and kills everyone. I love the back and forth with the fight scenes, and Fisk is just crashing out. He does one last speech, not to convince anyone, but to tell everyone that he has sacrificed so much to keep this city safe in his own twisted way. And of course, he gets jumped. Damn. JJK was right. There is no greater power than the art of jumping. Anyways, Matt stops the crowd from killing Fisk. All he wants is to end this. And Fisk, out of utter defeat, accepts the deal, and this leads to one of my favorite endings in Marvel. Of course, they do share a lot of information, like Luke Cage returning, Heather becoming Muse, and Bullseye joining Mr. Charles to continue his twisted redemption arc, and Matt going to prison, and Fisk just chilling in the beach without Vanessa. Both endings for these characters are so tragic. Matt going to prison because he is a vigilante and accepting the consequences of his actions. It really shows that Matt will do the right thing no matter what, and that's what I like about this scene. And of course, it probably sets up a future scene for a certain character that's fighting certain characters that are coincidentally in prison, but don't take my word for it. But I'm not gonna say anything further. You can take the information however you like. And if I had to choose which fate I like more, it would probably be Fisk's fate. And I will admit that Matt arguably had the worst fate, but it's really the emotional significance of this scene that hits so hard. Because anytime the scene is discussed by Vanessa or Fisk, it's always interpreted as them being together on that beach. And I love how he just stares off in the horizon all alone, because the fantasy he wanted will never happen. Hope you guys enjoyed. My my final recording for this part got interrupted by my alarm. So, anyways, I really enjoyed Daredevil and the themes that it presents. I always loved this show, despite it having its weakest season. But this show and its season, I would say, is a return to form. And I hoped you get, I hope you guys enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content. And I'm open to suggestions for more stuff like this. Oh yeah, forgot. Here's the number score for the recent season. 9 out of 10, and that's all I wanted to say. Bye.